Excuse me, boys. I hope I'm not bothering you. I would hate to interrupt anything.
What?
No. Come in?
Thank you. I'll make it brief.
I'm concerned on many levels.
It's just about pay.
Listen, I know I'm behind. I swear I'll get you double as soon as I can.
No. Your pay. I feel you boys are underappreciated.
What's going on? Who are you?
I'm the WAHdyssey.
Was.
It's like the evil version of a boss.
But you don't seem evil at all.
Let's not get into it right now.
He's evil.
But he's good.
Evil is the opposite of good.
The boss thinks he's good.
But the boss is evil.
So then an evil version of the boss is good.
What?
I'm gonna give you boys a raise.
Sure.
No, really, you guys are doing great, and I think it's about time we let you know that.
I don't care who you are. I think this is a great idea, and you're my best friend.
Yeah, money is great, and I think... Wait, I thought I was your best friend.
You! That man has been nothing but trouble. I haven't had time to think of a way to make your lives miserable this week.
I need to lie down.
You do that, Mark. You're looking a little pale. And as for you two, make me a new Mitch who isn't always sleeping on the job.
What?
No. You do it like this. What?
Hello and welcome to the Retro Odyssey. I am once again joined by my co-hosts Matt and Steven.
Hello.
How are we doing this month? Month.
Month, okay. Week, ugh.
I feel that.
It's been, long days.
It's fair enough. What about you, Matt?
Just work.
Yeah, I feel that too. It's just nonstop. But I've been taking my mind off of it just by playing a shitload of Minecraft recently. They've just dropped in a new update for the Nether, and it expands it, and it's really cool, but also, like, the Nether is way more deadly and aggressive, and I love it.
I've heard it's kind of killed a lot of speedrunning strats because the Nether fortresses are now really quite hard to find.
Yeah, like, normally you can run around and find a fortress in a couple minutes. Me and my friend, because I'm playing on a realm, we probably ran around for about 3 hours before we found one. And we're not speedrunners or anything, but, like, normally we find it a lot faster than that. And part of the problem is all of these new biomes in the game are just filled with enemies. Like, they're packed out. Like, including stuff you normally wouldn't see very often, like the ghast is a classic Nether enemy, and they're common enough, they will literally just spawn right in front of you now. Which is terrifying when you're running along, and then suddenly there's ghast, and you have to kill it. Not a complaint, it's just definitely a change of pace. But really, I mean, I played something else this week, too, or this week. What the hell did I play? Oh, Battletoads.
Oh, the new one.
Nice.
The new Battletoads is really good. It's not the Battletoads game I was expecting. It is a beat-em-up, but it's even more of a classic beat-em-up than Battletoads was, because Battletoads usually didn't just shower you with enemies.
Uh-huh.
They would give you a couple enemies, and they would just sort of string them together Whereas this just will spawn in 6-7 enemies at a time and give you like waves of fights. Very much similar to like Streets of Rage or something like that. It's very, very good as far as how the combat feels. I'm not playing on the hardest difficulty, so I can't attest to how hard the game gets. But like they're like when you're looking at the difficulty settings, the hardest one it's like for the true Battletoads fan or something like that. So I'm assuming that it's pretty fucking hard. But the game is different because it's like littered with odd little mini games.
Yeah, I've heard they kind of like really ruin the pace.
It doesn't really ruin the pace as much because the pacing of the game is already completely different than classic Battletoads. Like it's 100% different. So the mini games are just different. I kind of like how they'll break up the monotony of the beat 'em up, but it's just really weird to play a mini game in the middle. Like you'll be going along and then there's like these consoles you have to hack in one of the levels. And it's essentially a super simplified, it's a really short Frogger game, for lack of a better way to describe it. You have to play a really quick game of Frogger, and that's how you hack the console, and then you move on to the next area. Or like there's these little connect the circuit games where you have to readjust all the circuits and then hit the button, and then it'll send the electricity and open the door. And it's like, didn't need to put that in there. If you didn't have it in there, the level would certainly go by a lot quicker. I don't dislike it. It's just kind of odd to have that in a beat 'em up. The one thing a lot of people are getting mad about is the art style. I'm pretty indifferent on it. I think I would have preferred a different one, but at the same time, I like it. Kind of feels like has a very Cartoon Network-y vibe.
Yeah, I quite like it.
The writing is really funny. The most upsetting thing for me is people are just really mad that the Dark Queen isn't scantily clad anymore. And it's not that they're not mad that she's had a design change. They are specifically mad that she is not, quote, sexy anymore, unquote.
I mean, sounds like they can get bent.
I mean, seriously, it's just like, they're like, oh, I'm really disappointed that she's not hot anymore. It's like, dude, it's not like she's constantly present in the old games. Like, how horny are you? And have you heard of the internet? Give the fan art about 2 weeks.
Yeah, really.
You'll have all the content you could want. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. I played Battletoads. I played some Forza Horizon 3, which is they had a big old sale on it, so I got the expansion pack. There's like a Hot Wheels part for it. And that's pretty cool, but mostly I just played Minecraft and bits of Battletoads. I have not gone crazy. I'm just obsessed mostly over one game as usual. What about you? Have you all obsessed over a single game? Or do you spread it out like normal people?
I've played a hell of a lot this month, actually. I started out with Dark Souls, which
really
every couple years or so, I'll think to myself, "Oh, Dark Souls probably isn't that bad. I'll jump into it," and I probably played it for about 3-4 days. I managed to get to the second boss, died, wasn't able to get back to the second boss again without dying, and I just gave it up. It's just, I just can't with Dark Souls. I tried to find like mods and stuff like that to make it easier, but I couldn't find anything that actually work. So I decided I'll jump onto Bloodborne instead, because I'm slightly better at Bloodborne than I am at Dark Souls. And again, as much as I love the aesthetic and the world of Bloodborne, I just cannot. It's just too hard. I know people say, oh, these games shouldn't have a hard mode. Well, those guys can go fuck themselves, because these are games that are kind of like right up my alley, like Bloodborne especially. Mm-hmm. That is entirely my shit. Just the whole Lovecraftian, Gothic, Victorian kind of feel to it, with all the kind of like weird shit going on. I would love to be able to get through that game, but I can't, unfortunately. And there does really need to be difficulty options there. I mean, there are people who aren't good at the games that could use it, but as well, there are people kind of like with accessibility issues. Like there are disabled people who can't perform like certain actions and stuff like that, who have kind of like no chance with a game like this at all. You know, they've just got to completely skip it. I think every game should have an easy mode. I mean, I'm not just talking about Dark Souls and Bloodborne.
I went and played a little bit of Dark Souls and dabbled around in Dark Souls 2 at a friend's, and the aesthetics and the level design and just the entirety visual of the game is outstanding, but I fucking hate them.
Yeah, I mean, so like I love Dark Souls. I'm good at Dark Souls because my paranoid nature actually works in my favor. And I still say, you know, the difficulty options should be there for people that want them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't hurt anything to have a harder difficulty and to have an easier difficulty. If you don't like the easier difficulty, then you don't play it.
The easier difficulty.
All I would need in Bloodborne is the ability to keep my blood echoes when I die. Because then I can farm enemies, and if I die, I then have something that I can upgrade my stats with.
Right. Or at least don't lose all of them. Maybe don't lose all of them. Like if you die, you lose half of them. And that's the punishment for dying, is you don't have to just keep hammering at this section forever until you either get lucky or get good.
Right.
Like, and if you are just killing everything, then good for you, you get all of them. There's a way to make it more accessible versus just kind of getting to the point where you give up. I mean, Battletoads is super hard. It's really nice that the new Battletoads has like an easy and a normal setting. And then there's an insane setting for the people who are just like, yeah, I want to die in one hit. Like, and I like Battletoads, but I admit that the game is unfairly hard.
Yeah.
It just is. It's unfairly hard. It was designed that way. And while I appreciate having a game that's just as brutally difficult as that, it would be nice for there to be an easy mode where you can just sort of enjoy the game at a casual pace and then go back to hard mode. It's not a difficult thing. But people will get, like, angry over suggesting that a game should have an easy mode.
Yes, but I mean, at the end of the day, games should be for everyone.
They should be. And like, and if the game design as a whole, so if like the whole game design, like if you don't like third-person open sandbox games, well then there shouldn't be a mode that'll change like Saints Row for you, because it's just a game you don't like in the first place.
Right.
But if the problem with the game is solely it's just really, really hard, tone it down. Have an option to tone it down.
Yeah.
Like, back in the day, we didn't really have options to tone it down. Games just had cheat codes.
But nowadays, you don't even have that.
Now you don't even have cheat codes. You can buy it. Now we're going on a different topic.
I've gotten, like, halfway through the first Dark Souls, and then I didn't stop playing because I wasn't enjoying it. I stopped playing because I just got pulled to other stuff. But, like those games are right up my alley, and I'm pretty good at least the parts I've been through. But again, like, you know, someone like Matt, you're just stuck.
Yeah, you're just doomed. Or me. I will never ever, and I've had so many people try to talk me into starting those games up, like buying it, and it's like, I'll buy you the game if you'll play it. It's like, dude, it's not the fact that I don't want to buy the game, it's the fact that I don't want to play it.
Yeah. So what we do is I either upload Let's Plays, or I get on stream and you guys just watch me play the game.
I mean, that's fine. The game is wonderful. Like, visually, it's amazing to watch. I've watched my friend for literally hours play Dark Souls 2, because it's fantastic looking.
I mean, I know it's not the same, but, you know, at least you get to see everything that's there.
I can watch people play video games. It's fine. I mean, especially now, it's like watching a movie, only with more swearing, on average.
Especially if you watch me.
It's fine. I mean, we made it through Metroid, so...
This is true.
We did. It's a fact.
But yeah, that isn't all I've been playing. I started off the month with that. But then there was a new content patch for Final Fantasy XIV, which is the biggest content patch that they've ever released, as far as I'm aware, outside of like a new expansion. And it was kind of like the story kind of like tying up and finishing off the story of the expansion. And it was really good. It was like a solid 5 hours of content. I just on launch day, I got back from work, fired it up, and I just sat for like 5 hours and just played through the whole thing. It was really good, really emotional end to the story. There are still a couple patches left to come on this expansion, but they'll be kind of like setting up the story for the next expansion. But yeah, it's really good, and I think like Shadowbringers has been the best expansion so far, and this kind of like gave it a really nice end.
I'm mostly shocked that they're still supporting Final Fantasy XIV. I really feel like at this point they would have dropped. They would have started planning.
Dude, when we get to the news, I have a story for you.
Oh boy!
But no, I anxiously look forward to Shadowbringers. It's just, don't have game time right now.
I really enjoyed that, and that was like just the story content. There was a load of other stuff added as well, which has been a hell of a lot of fun. So I've been again on that like most of the month. And then Fall Guys came out, so I've been playing quite a bit of that as well because it is free for PS Plus members, and that's a lot of fun. I don't know if I would have paid for it, but as like a free game, I've been having a lot of fun with that.
I've seen lots of memes about it.
I mean, I've been watching Jim's videos about it, and I think I popped into one of the live streams that him or Conrad or Laura did. But yeah, it was just, don't have access to it and don't particularly care.
If you're not on PlayStation Plus, I don't know if I'd buy. Well, having said that, I mean, I think some stupid like 7 million or something copies have been sold on Steam.
Yeah.
So people are paying. I mean, it's basically kind of like as big as well, maybe not as big as Fortnite, but
it's getting there.
Yeah, it's definitely getting there.
And I mean, like I personally wouldn't play it on PC. I'd get it on console just because, from what I understand, the PC version is lousy with cheaters.
Oh yeah. I've seen videos, and yeah, I would not want to play on PC. It's kind of like little mini game things. Why would you be sad enough to like hack and cheat at that?
Because people are the worst.
Apparently, it's not going to come out on Xbox or Switch. It is exclusively available on PlayStation or Steam.
Yeah.
Like, apparently, the devs said they would love to bring it to other platforms down the line, but they actually haven't made any plans for it. Weird. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I haven't played, like, a massive amount of it. I did... my first session I actually streamed was about 45 minutes, and I've probably put another couple hours in since then. I've still not gotten past like the third round. I just keep getting knocked out, but it is like so quick to just kind of like go back and start a new round. That's one of the benefits of it. Like in half a minute, you're back into kind of like another game.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that is always a good development. That's a staple of good development, is a quick return time after losing or dying. Like when a game drags out death, whether it be like with a cutscene or just really long load times, or in the, as great as the game is, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, kicking you all the way back out to the main menu when it could have just been like, do you want to reload from your last save point?
Yeah.
That's always just a huge point against whatever game does that, versus just like boop boop, kick back out, and you can just jump right back in. That's just good game design. So that's always nice to hear, because in a game like this, from what I've seen, you're going to be losing and not making it a lot.
Oh yeah, especially if you're me.
Yeah, and when you have that many people, because it's like a battle royale, I don't know how many people are actually playing at one time, like how many people drop into the world.
Oh,
But
it's
you're gonna,
60 to start with.
yeah, it's like a whole bunch of people are going to get knocked out right away. It's
Yeah, I
like,
think like the first round gets it down to 42, then the second round gets it down to 30. I don't know like what it is after that.
in PUBG, it's always funny. 100 people drop in roughly. Usually, a lot of people disconnect on their way down. The last one I was trying to play it, but a ton of people will drop in the same area, and it'll go from 90 to 100 people, and it'll quickly get trimmed down to like 65, 70.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like, oh, that's it. And that's within like the first 30 seconds of playing.
PUBG is about to get a massive boost in player numbers because it's on PS Plus next month.
Nice. It's
So
not a bad game. It's just I was playing it when it was still like in pre-release, and it was super buggy.
But yeah, the only other thing I've been playing this month, aside from the games that we're going to talk about later, is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which I picked up on PS4. I think it was like £25. And yeah, I've done the first dungeon, and I've explored a bit, and I'm about to go into like the second dungeon. I've like saved my game just outside second dungeon. And yeah, I had to kind of spend a lot of time trying to work out what I needed to do in that first dungeon because it's not immediately apparent. You've got to pick up these cogs and put them on these things to open gates, and I just didn't know that, so I was walking around for ages trying to figure out how to get anywhere. But the dungeon wasn't difficult until I got to the boss, and the boss is clearly not designed for one player. And I died a hell of a lot. I mean, I live streamed it. If someone wants to go to my YouTube channel and like count the amount of times I died to that pissing crab, it was a lot. But I defeated it eventually.
So they clearly have not rebalanced the game for single player.
Nope.
I was kind of hoping that there would be a balancing patch in there to adjust the difficulty a little bit.
Yeah, no, I also picked up Crystal Chronicles, and I mean I've tried to play the original a whole bunch of times. This is basically the exact same game, just on modern consoles.
I'm not mad about it. It's just wow. I figured they would have done something.
Yeah, but it is easier. Like the multiplayer is easier to do now because
because internet.
Well, and like back in the day, yeah, most people had a Game Boy Advance. How many people actually had the Game Boy Advance to GameCube link cable? Like,
I never had one.
Yeah, I mean, I now have like 5 because I specifically was trying to play this and Zelda Four Swords Adventures.
Yeah, I just played Four Swords Adventures like last year. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
It's a shame that it was hidden because of the stupid adapter.
Yeah. That's why I would love to see a re-release that basically does the same thing that this does.
Yep.
But yeah, so I also played Crystal Chronicles. I haven't gotten as far as Matt did, but I did play it enough to see that, oh yeah, this is the same thing. I was able to burn through the first area because I'm like, I remember this. Also, since last episode, I've streamed 2.5 Metroid games. Just kind of haven't had a lot of time to stream lately because I've been working so much. And then I've also been playing some Pokemon stuff, getting ready for that the big project I'm part of.
The Pokeathlon Baton Pass. What's a relay? Pokemon Relay. There we go.
Yeah, the Nuzlocke Relay.
I knew I was looking for the word. I was about to just call it Pokemon Olympics.
Man, that'd be awesome.
Mario and Sonic and literally every Pokemon at the Olympics. Machamp wins all of them, it turns out. Shit.
No, Mewtwo can fly faster than he can run.
That should definitely be the title of the game. Mario and Sonic and literally all of the Pokemon.
Literally all the Pokemon. At the 2020 Olympics. Or, shit, the 2020 Olympics those got, postponed, didn't they?
I'm pretty sure they did.
That's going to be weird. Next time it's going to be hard mode. You only have 3 years to train for the Olympics. Oh shit. What about you, Steven? What else have you played? I know that you played. I know that you were playing Metroid. I helped you out on one of them.
Yeah, which was great. And
Is it weird? Is it weird that I kind of want to go back and play Metroid again? Like, I feel like I could have played it better, and part of me wants to go back and prove it to myself that we could have gotten through that a lot better.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never gotten any of the quote unquote good endings. I've usually fallen in the middle. Dude. Yeah. When it comes to something like Samus Returns, like, there's so much crap to find. I can't do that game in under 10 hours.
Yeah, no, it's a long game. Games got long.
Yeah, so I did Metroid. I did the Pokemon stuff. Not a whole lot else. I mean, just, chugging along.
Well, you said you've been pretty busy anyway.
Yeah, I mean, working extra long shifts and extra days at work. So,
yeah, it just takes away from your free time.
Yep, especially when I come home and just like immediately crash, just like thump.
Yeah, I permit that. It's just one of those things. It be how it is sometimes. Yeah. I said something a minute ago that intrigued me. You said you had a story for me in the news, and I want to know about it. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
There's a lot of news this month, actually.
There really is.
Maybe too much, but we'll figure it out.
So, my story, you said you're surprised they're still supporting Final Fantasy XIV. They're still supporting Final Fantasy XI.
Oh, shit.
Final Fantasy XI is getting a new expansion.
What platforms can you play Final Fantasy XI on? I mean, it's PC. It's not supported on the PS2 anymore?
Nope.
Then what's the fucking point? Wait, Final Fantasy XI was on the 360?
Yes.
Oh, shit, I didn't know.
There is reportedly a mobile version in the works.
Yeah, that's what they're working on.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's still fully supported. Like, I went and played it a little bit a couple of months ago. I think it's called Return to Vanadiel or something like that.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
But yeah, they're releasing an expansion for Final Fantasy XI. So if anyone is worried that they haven't played this game yet, it's still going to be around for a while.
I wish that they were just like, you know what, if you have a PS2 with a network adapter, then you can play it on there too, because I would spend money on that just to play it on the PS2.
I actually found a PS2 copy of the game at a local shop.
Nice.
Before they turned off the PS2 servers. And I tried to get it working. The problem was that the service they use to handle the accounts and everything was like the connection for that had already broken for PS2.
Oh.
So I wasn't able to connect my Square Enix account on there to play the game on PS2.
Dang.
Yeah. And the 360 version was killed even earlier. But yeah, I think they dropped support for the PS2 in like 2016, 2017.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. So now it's only PC. You can buy it through Steam or direct from Square Enix.
Something that should be said about that as well. If you buy it from Steam, you will not get a month's playtime.
Right.
Oof.
If you buy it from the Square Enix store, you will get a month of playtime, which I think is about $10.99 a month usually. You will basically get, like, if you buy the full version, you get all the expansions and you'll get like a month's playtime as well. Steam will not give you that month's playtime. It will just give you the client and the expansions.
Right. And you're using basically the same client no matter what.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things where, like, you might as well get it direct from Square Enix. I already had it on Steam from years and years ago. But yeah, so like you can still hop on and play Final Fantasy XI. Like, it's kind of bananas.
And I was actually watching a video yesterday on ways that you can use mods to make it looking like as good as it can possibly look.
Mm-hmm.
So I might pop that video on the Facebook page if you want to have a look at that, and it will show you how to get the game looking really decent.
Yeah.
Just impressed that it's still going.
Yeah, I mean, there's still people that never migrated from 11 to 14.
And why should they?
And actually, 14 just had its 7-year anniversary of the relaunch version.
Mm-hmm.
That is still very much going strong. I mean, I believe it is the third most played MMO in the West. I may be wrong.
Yeah, I don't think 14 is going anywhere.
Oh no!
Like I think 14 will be the last MMO for a while.
Yeah, it's doing crazy numbers at the minute. I believe it's only behind World of Warcraft and Elder Scrolls Online.
Which I'm shocked that Elder Scrolls Online took off like it did, because like it seemed at first people were like, I don't really care, and then suddenly everybody's like, this game is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did actually pick it up. I played it for about a month, and it didn't really drag me in, but it's very much kind of like online Skyrim, and I didn't really like Skyrim that much. Skyrim's fine, but it's not something I would play month on month. Mm-hmm. But apparently, it's had a lot of fixes, a lot of new content, and it's a lot better. It's a lot better game than it used to be.
Maybe one day I'll give it a shot.
Yeah,
but I'm not a huge Elder Scrolls fan in the first place, so who knows? Well, good on Squeenix.
Yeah, while we are still on Squeenix, there was a Nintendo Direct Mini last week, and they announced, among other things that I couldn't really give a shit about, Final Fantasy Legends Collection, which includes the first 3 games in the Saga Collection for the Game Boy, which was renamed to Final Fantasy Legends to try and get like a little bit more popularity in North America. Mm-hmm. These games have never had a European release, so this will be the first time that I'm actually able to get them. It's going to include all 3 games, basically just ports with like a few extra like additional bells and whistles like they always do with these kind of things. And the price is decent as well. On the Nintendo store, it is $14.99 for the 3 games. So that is definitely something I'm going to pick up. It's not out until the 15th of December, but I will definitely get that.
Fun.
I believe, I may be wrong, Stephen may be able to correct me on this. I believe Final Fantasy Legends was the first RPG on the Game Boy.
Well, I have the article pulled up. Let me just take a look.
I love that art. Like, I never know where Final Fantasy sets as far as what its genre is. It's clearly high fantasy, but it never knows what subgenre it wants. Like, you have a commando ninja with a bazooka.
Yes.
You have a diesel punk-looking dude with a chainsaw. Some random rogue dude with a gun and a sword. You have a sexy warlock barbarian woman. Shenlong from Dragon Ball Z. And then a astronaut robot. Well, he just kind of looks like an astronaut helmet with arms and legs, who also has a shoulder-mounted launcher of some sort. And then a tiny little featureless yellow homunculus.
I mean, it started out as high fantasy, but they started adding a lot more steampunk elements as the series went along. I mean, some games went like full-on sci-fi, like 7. But yeah, most of them nowadays do have a lot of steampunk elements. I mean, 14's got a shitload of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a whole, like, in this one picture for the splash, they have everything going on.
And the thing is, like, most of the games started with your typical fantasy, and then, surprise, airships exist. But then some games like 14 or I want to say 5 are like airships, out the gate.
Well, I mean, Final Fantasy VI does the same thing, where it's just like, oh, it's Final Fantasy, yeah, but also mechs. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So I'm back with information. The Final Fantasy Legend, released in 1989. As far as I can tell, that is the first released RPG for the Game Boy. There is, there's a thing that says Sword of Hope, but then that also shows up in 1991, so I'm not sure what that's about. But yeah, it was also the first, Square's first game to sell 1 million copies.
Oh, nice. I mean, that was like at the height of the Game Boy, 89.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised.
That's a much better stat to open up with too. It's like this first game from Square's to sell 1 million copies. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah,
it's weird that it didn't release in Europe.
Yeah, I have no idea. It released in 89 in Japan, 90 in North America, and then in 98, Sunsoft paired with Square to re-release all their Game Boy titles. But again, only North America. So, I don't know. Let's see. And every other release for this game, aside from those Game Boy releases, did not leave Japan.
How many Saga games are there?
Okay, so when we talk about Saga, we have Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3. And then there's Romancing Saga 1, 2, and 3. Saga Frontier 1 and 2. Unlimited Saga. Romancing Saga Mistral Song. Emperor Saga. Imperial Saga. Saga Scarlet Grace. Romancing Saga Re-Universe, which I think is that mobile game. Imperial Saga Eclipse, and then the new collection. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 releases. One of which is a collection, and the mobile game is, I think, it's kind of like a Fire Emblem Heroes where all the characters from all the games are included. But a lot of these games did not release in America. Most of these are Japan only.
I'm going to be real disappointed if the Romancing Saga games are not dating simulators.
No idea. I haven't played them.
Sounds like a yes to me.
Let's see. So we got Romancing Saga 1 and 2. We did not get 3. Saga Frontier 2. And looks like, Europe may have gotten Romancing Saga because it says worldwide. And then Unlimited Saga, Minstrel Song, and then Scarlet Grace. I don't know. I've yet to actually play these games. I have Legend 2 and 3 on the original Game Boy. I even have the booklets and map I have the booklet for both and the map for one of them. But I've always been kind of terrified to play them because they're apparently hard as crap. And I've yet to get my hands on the first one. And this collection is cheaper than it would be to buy a copy of the first one. So it's like, why not?
Why not?
As far as the games themselves, from what I remember, the first Final Fantasy Legend is you climb a tower, get kicked back down to the bottom, climb the tower again, and kill God.
That'll teach him.
That sounds like a plot that would work quite well in a Persona game.
Right.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am also very much looking forward to that.
Another anthology that's coming out is the Turrican anthology. But this one is actually physical only, and it's coming from Strictly Limited Games. I'm assuming they're a similar kind of company to Limited Run.
Yeah.
And it's coming to Switch and PS4, and the prices are outrageous. Basically, I only have prices in euros at the minute, but there are basically two anthologies that they're bringing out. Turrican 1 and 2 is on one, and Turrican 3 is on the other.
Turrican 1 and... That's not a collection. That's Turrican 1 and 2.
Well, it's got the Amiga versions of the games, plus SNES versions, Genesis versions where they exist. But Turrican Anthology 1 is €35. Anthology 2 is €35. you can get a collector's edition with both of them in for €100. You can get
What the fuck?
the Ultra Collector's Edition for €200. Which has got like soundtracks and shit in it. And yeah, I think that's it. You've got 2 anthologies, you've got the Collector's Edition, and you've got the Ultra Collector's Edition. So if you really like Turrican, then
I mean, really.
Look, Turrican's a fine game. The Turrican games are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. They're good old run-and guns with a lot of apparently fucking alien in it. But Jesus,
the PS4 version of the Ultra Collector's Edition, the €200 one, is sold out. The Switch version is still available.
Well, here's the deal, is I guarantee this is very much going to be a flip. This is not people who are buying it because they want it. This is people who are buying it to flip it because it is limited. This is what happens with Limited Run. Limited Run kind of put the kibosh to that by limiting the amount of copies you could order originally, and now they just do you can just order more copies. Like, they take a shitload of copies and they produce as many orders as they get. So there isn't really I guess you can't scalp it as much as you can try to build up a bunch of copies and try to sell them later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, the more people order, the less rare the game becomes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a neat system versus going we're making 1,000 copies of this game and that's it.
Yeah.
You can't scalp limited run games. You can just try to profit more, maybe.
But you definitely can with this. Like I said, the one of the editions is already sold out, so they must be on like a strict limit. I mean, that is for the €200 one. I'm sure there's a lot more being made of the 35. But again, I've never played Turrican, and I'm not going to spend this kind of money to play it.
The $200 PS4 Ultra Edition is only going to have 500 copies, only has 500 copies and it's gone.
Wait, didn't we play a Turrican?
We did. We played, I think we played...
Mega Turrican, I want to say?
Mega Turrican, yeah.
Yeah, for the space episode.
Yeah, in Spec.
Yeah, I don't think it was one of these.
Mega Turrican. So yeah, I think I remember being surprised by that one. I think I remember that one being surprisingly entertaining.
They're fine games. It's just they're not worth that much. They're just not.
Right. I would not buy this. And
it's neat that they have all the different versions, but at the same time, let's not fucking kid ourselves. There are best versions of each game.
Mm-hmm.
and
they should have just done a collection with the best version of each game.
Our Mega Turrican is on here.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, just if you're seeing stuff come out at like this kind of price, just get an Amiga emulator and just download them. It's super easy. Amiga's easy to emulate. But yeah, also in the news, we've got a couple more news topics left. If you have Netflix, there is a new retro gaming documentary called High Score. It is a 6-part limited series, and it's narrated by Charles Martinet, who also does the voice for a certain someone we're going to be talking about a little later on. I've watched 3 episodes. It's kind of surface level. It's not like majorly in depth, but it is a nice little history of how the gaming scene came into popularity and kind of developed. So it is. If you've got Netflix, check it out. There's probably no new information there if you know a lot about the scene. But there's some nice interviews. You've got Roberta Williams, Richard Garriott, a bunch of other people.
Sounds like a good time. Man, it's gonna be a sad day when one day we're gonna beat a Mario game and it's gonna start rolling credits and it's gonna say in memory of Charles Martinet. It's gonna be like, oh shit, what? That'll be a hard one to deal with.
Yeah.
The only other news topic that I have is the ZX Spectrum Next Issue 2, which is a revised version of the original. The Kickstarter has launched. Now, it is at a higher price point than the original, but they are more or less making these at cost. And they're not really making a hell of a lot of profit, so you're never going to see these in retail. But it is kind of like a new version of the ZX Spectrum, and there is a regular version for £300. I'm not sure what the original variants would be, and an accelerated version for £325, which has a Raspberry Pi Zero inside, adding a little bit of extra functionality to it. So I actually have put in a pledge for the accelerated version, which came to $335 with postage, which is a lot of money. September is going to be a very expensive month for me, because I also have 2 very expensive Prince box sets on the way in September. But this is something that, like I said, it's never going to be in retail. I was kicking myself that I missed the first Kickstarter that came a few years back. And I've seen reviews of that original version, and it just looks really like my kind of thing. It's fully backwards compatible. You can load stuff from tape if you want. You can load it from SD card. It supports all the accessories that the ZX Spectrum did. And it is essentially a new ZX Spectrum. I mean, we spoke about the Atari VCS, and the reason that I said what I did about the Atari VCS, and I have a completely different opinion on this, is because Atari S is basically a PC in a box that's emulating games. This is a recreated ZX Spectrum. This is an FPGA system, so it's not emulating anything. It is actually recreating the hardware.
Right.
And it's also including bells and whistles. You can increase the clock speed to run games a little bit faster. A lot of games, mostly 3D kind of games, would run maybe 2-3 frames a second on the ZX Spectrum. They were playable back in the day, but obviously now you go to them and it's like, oh, this is so slow. But you can put up the clock speed, so you are able to play them at a much faster pace to make stuff like that more playable. And it also includes enhancements to be able to play stuff that's a little bit more powerful, uses a little bit more color variety and stuff like that. There are games that have been made specifically for the Next, utilizing the hardware in the best way it can. And yeah, this is something that I didn't want to miss out. It's a lot of money, but I am glad that I am finally going to be able to get one.
Well, I mean, so first of all, you said it still works with the tape from the original games.
Yes.
That alone separates it from stuff like the Atari. And plus, aren't some of the original people still behind this?
Yes. Well, actually, bit of a sad story. I mean, the guy who created the design for the original Spectrums, they brought on to create the design of this, which is why it's got a really familiar kind of design, because same guy who did it. Unfortunately, he passed away before it came out. But it like I say, it is the same guy who designed the original Spectrum. So it is very much has the aesthetic. I mean, you can look at it and tell, yes, that is a ZX Spectrum.
Right. So it's not like Atari, where the name Atari does not mean Atari anymore. It's
no. Well, I mean, they licensed the name and they got permission to use the architecture, the hardware to kind of make this. So it isn't, aside from the designer, it isn't kind of original Spectrum developers.
Okay.
But they do have permission to use that from I believe it's B, who owns it at the minute. So they have like full permission to use that.
I still think you're absolutely right that, for someone like you where the Spectrum is, your favorite console and it's something you've sunk so much time into, this is absolutely worth it for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And being able to load games like 2 ways as well. I mean, you've got the convenience of instant loading games, and you also have the feel of like hooking up a tape player.
Yeah.
And doing it the original way as well. So yeah,
doing
I am
it the way God intended.
Yeah.
With a
yeah, it's not a pretty noise, but but one other feature that this does have as well, it has, obviously you've got your HDMI connection, but it also has RGB out as well, VGA.
Nice.
So you can connect it to your old TVs if you want. You can connect it to your old CRTs and run it through that. And I believe it does actually output both at the same time as well. So say if you're kind of like streaming, you could send the HDMI to your streaming box and you could be running it on a CRT at the same time as well.
Nice.
So yeah, expensive, but I think it will be worth it. And I'm more excited about this than any of the next-gen consoles.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I can't fault you for that.
I actually speaking of Kickstarter, I just backed the Smash Stick second Kickstarter. The first one failed, but they kept chunking away at it anyway. Thankfully, they kept going at it. Like they kept working on the project, and they came out with more tests, and they brought it to a couple big like tournaments and stuff for people to try out, and that sparked actual interest. And it was they finally were doing more dev and getting more stuff out, and they launched their Kickstarter back in July, and it was funded in 22 hours.
Nice.
So they finally they finally got a proof of concept out, and people bit, and I was one of the people who bit. But it's a $200. It's an expensive. It's like a $200+ fight stick, but it's an analog fight stick. And it's multi-platform as well. Like this will work with PC. This will work with N64. It'll work with anything with a GameCube port. So,
holy crap!
Yeah, like it's super cool, and it uses, other than the actual stick itself, because it's analog versus digital. Like
right.
all of the buttons are like standard arcade, so everything's swappable and upgradable.
What was this called?
It's called the Smash Stick, and it is a fight stick for
analog arcade stick.
It is an analog arcade stick.
Huh. Okay.
Nobody really makes one. Everybody's been trying to look at ways to get like fight sticks into the Smash scene, and someone finally did. Nice.
Yeah, I just backed Kickstarter that actually just wrapped up yesterday. Ayuden Chronicle 100 Heroes.
That's the Suikoden. Is that the Suikoden? Yeah.
Yeah, people that made Suikoden were involved, and it just like classic RPG. It looks fantastic. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take a gamble on this one.
Yeah, my friend is super into Suikoden, and he wants to pick it up as soon as it comes out because he loves that series. He just, like, Suikoden is to him as Final Fantasy is to you. Like, he likes it so much, he went and hunted down, like, a Japanese copy of Suikoden just to have it.
Yeah, so I've never played Suikoden, but I have friends that tell me it's absolutely my kind of thing. And just like when I saw the screenshots and the videos they put up, I was like, okay, I gotta at least try this one out.
I haven't played it, but I can tell you that the soundtrack for Suikoden is outstanding. Just so fucking good. I have literally just sat down and listened to the Suikoden soundtrack. That's how good it is.
The game releases for September. Well, actually, the first one is actually for August because it was announced not long before it came out, but I'm probably pronouncing this wrong. Herzog's
Yeah, you probably pronounced that wrong, but I don't know how to pronounce it either.
Which is another game in the Sega Ages collection for Switch. It appears to be an RTS game that came out on the 27th of August, which is like 3 days ago at the time of recording. So that is out now if you are into that game. Apparently it inspired a hell of a lot of RTS games that came after it.
It's and I was talking to Adam about this. This is one of the earliest RTS games. Like, I'm pretty sure this was the first one to use the particular format that became known as RTS in later years. Actually, I think this is the first time the term was used. But like there are technically games before it that were RTS, but this is the one that really codified the genre.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I'm not a major RTS fan myself, but I'm sure there are plenty of people who would really like to pick that up. And the Sega Ages games are cheap as well.
Mm-hmm.
But moving into September, 4th of September, you have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remasters coming out.
I forgot that those happened.
I'm going to be waiting for a sale on them, but yeah, they are coming out on 4th of September.
I will probably pick them up unless it's a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 debacle again.
Yeah.
Which means I'm just going to wait for a minute. I'm going to wait a couple weeks and see if they're buggy and if they play right, because this is one of those things where I will actually wait on like the hardcore fans to say something.
Yeah.
Because it is fair when a Tony Hawk game doesn't feel right. It starts feeling like a different game.
Yeah.
And the people who are obsessive are the ones you actually, for once, actually want to listen to.
It's selling for about £35, which is good.
Nice.
The only other release that we have, retro-wise, is kind of retro. It's like right on the edge, but Mafia Definitive Edition, 25th of September, which is a game that came out on the PS2.
Oh yeah.
I've never played any of the Mafia games. I'm not really interested in playing them. But if you are, then remastered version of the first game is out at the end of the month.
I want to say I bought Mafia 3 a long time ago on sale and then never played it.
I've never played any of them.
I heard it was good. I've heard the Mafia series is fine. I just never, I think I picked it up for dirt cheap.
I think Mafia 3 is actually fairly recent, isn't it?
It is. It's a current gen release.
So they're not actually... I mean, the first one came out on PS2, so they're not in a rush.
No, they're not. They definitely take their time on them.
Yeah.
But then having said that, Rockstar have managed to thread GTA 5 over 3 console generations, so...
Which I'm mostly impressed by, honestly. I mean, Skyrim 2, if you don't think we're not going to get a Skyrim release on the next gen, you're crazy.
Oh, of course we will.
He's going to roll up there and he's going to be like, everybody has a mobile phone, right? Well, that's fine because you're getting Skyrim on Xbox Series X.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like the fact that GTA 5 is the most profitable piece of media in history. Like, that's just kind of insane to me.
They opened the PlayStation 5 reveal with GTA 5. It is like that big of a deal.
Still going strong.
Yeah.
I've never played it.
And I just want a San Andreas remaster.
I was about to say I want a Vice City remaster, but I do actually have that on PS4 in the PS2 Classics thing, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I have San Andreas on the 360, which is weird because it's actually a mobile port or a mobile version of the game, but it looks a little bit better than it did on the original, but the menus are clearly not retooled for console. They are very blatantly mobile menus. It's weird. Gameplay is fine. It's fun. It's just really odd when you go into your menus. Well, if that closes up releases, let's talk about past releases real quick, and then move on to the show. Actually, several consoles are celebrating an anniversary, and big ones.
Mm-hmm.
The PS1 turns 25 as of the 1st of September. In the US, specifically.
Yeah.
To be fair to that. Also turning 25 is Rayman. Good on Rayman. Halo Reach turned 10. That's actually kind of weird to think about. I didn't realize that Halo Reach is 10 years old. Holy shit.
Yeah, September 2010. September 10th, I think.
A less-known game, but a goodie, Burnout Revenge turned 15, or turns 15, on the 13th of September. The Game Boy Micro, another console, turns 15 on the 19th.
Oh, my God.
In lineup with the whole Tony Hawk 1 and 2 releasing, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 is about to turn 20. Oh, God. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 is about to turn 20. Oof. We mentioned it earlier, or I mentioned it earlier. Ultimate Spider-Man is turning 15.
Nice.
Mega Man 3 is going to turn 30 at the end of the month. Wow. Oh, and also the PS1 also released in Europe in September, so 25th anniversary for its releases. Remember, I know it released in Japan a couple months earlier, so I already mentioned that. I'm not going to mention it again.
Yeah, I've got a lot of good memories with the PS1.
Mm-hmm. It was a solid console. We never owned one. We were a Nintendo family, but we had a friend who had the PlayStation, and then another friend who had all the Sega consoles. So
it was basically a Resident Evil machine, and Silent Hill. That's
Final Fantasy.
For me, I wasn't playing Final Fantasy at the time, but for me, Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, and Silent Hill 1 were pretty much all I played on my PlayStation 1.
My family had everything but Sega, and we played games all over the board, but Final Fantasy is probably what was in our PS1 the most.
Well, the first one?
No, 7, 8, and I mean, I personally played a lot of the first one on there, but I don't think any of my other family members ever did. We also had a lot of stuff, like we had some party games for it that we would play.
It was a fine console.
Yeah.
My biggest memory is Twisted Metal. That's what we played, was Twisted Metal on it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it would be occasionally he would bring over his PlayStation, and that was basically it. And bring Twisted Metal. This is another game. We played Bloody Roar too back in the day. That's a series that needs to be revisited and given a fair shake. Anyway, let's get this show on the road.
I'm a Wario. I'm gonna win.
So when you say Nintendo and hats and overalls and mustache, the first person everybody thinks about is Waluigi. It's Waluigi. But only slightly lesser known is Wario. And I think it's time. It is finally time that we covered the real hero of the Mario series, of the Mario Land, who actually made his debut in Super Mario Land 2 on the Game Boy as a villain. And I don't know how much there is to say about Wario, as his origins, because honestly, I really feel like he was a really lazy, half-assed villain.
He was.
They're just turn his M upside down and make him fat. And then he's the bad guy. He stole a castle. It's like, why the fuck does Mario have a castle in the first place? He's a plumber.
Yeah.
But that's where we got it. And it's amazing because, I didn't pull up the date, but Mario Land 2 was released in 91 or something like that. It was really early. It was early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And the game is great. Mario Land 2 is a fantastic game. It introduced a lot of things that you saw in Super Mario World. It had an overworld. It had the spin jump. It brought in new power-ups like the bunny ears. And it did well enough, but Wario was instantly popular and it killed the Mario Land series for Mario, and just transitioned straight into the Wario Land series.
Yeah, in true villain fashion, he just stole the series away from Mario.
It couldn't have been more planned. Like, he stole the castle, and Mario took it back, and he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to take your franchise. And I had played Super Mario World, Super Mario Land 3. Let's say Super Wario World, Super Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3, which is a very interesting flip of the subtitle, I feel. And it's just like, oh yeah, this is where it comes from. And then I actually played that a couple years ago, because before this I had played Super Wario World, and I had played micro games, and like Wario was always like a number one pick in all of the side stuff he'd spun off for me, like Mario Party, Mario Kart. If Wario's there, I want to pick him. I didn't play Mario Tennis until years and years later, but yes, like he's become such a staple to the Mario series, and he was, in my opinion, just pulled out of someone's ass at Nintendo.
Yeah, probably.
And that's how I feel about him, but, like, I love him. He's a good guy. He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy.
He's the guy.
He's the guy.
God, that promo went over horribly.
Well, and it's funny. It's funny as far as a character goes. Like, so, a lot of, like, old user manuals, like, it was pretty standard back in the day for user manuals to be more content-filled. They weren't just, like, little leaflets with instructions on how to press buttons, because we can figure that out. It's like, oh, yeah, this is how to do thing. There was, like, due to the fact that a lot of games had a harder time conveying actual story within them, they would push it into the manual.
Right.
And it was very standard for you to open up the manual to get the backstory and get some, guidance on what's actually going on. And then when you pop open something like Wario World or even Wario Land, and you start reading the manual, it's different. It's like Wario is basically just whining and also simultaneously bragging about how great he is and how things are unfair. And now I gotta get, like, he's talking to you as the player. And I always thought that was fun. Because not many other, like, a lot of other manuals just like, oh, in the land of Hyrule, so-and-so happened, and now it's bad. But now the hero Link is going to do the thing. It's like, cool. Yeah, it's they tell you, but the Wario manuals were different. And I always appreciated it, even if it was a little corny. It helped establish who the character actually was.
I did actually read the manuals for the games this time, and yeah, they were very entertaining to read.
Oh man, I totally could have read the manuals. I got them on the Virtual Console.
Yeah, you could have. In Wario World, I mean, no spoilers to the game, even though I'll probably mention it a few more times. I know it wasn't a focus game, but I really, really like Wario World. There is, on like a couple pages in, there's an anatomy of Wario, and it's kind of gross, because it's like a textbook anatomy of Wario where it does like the cutaway so you can see all of his innards. But like all of the specifications are basically him commenting on himself. And he's just like, oh, these arms, they look fat, but they're solid muscle. He goes, and he goes, like, these hands have like X amount of like PSI, like something ridiculous. And then there's like one, he's like, this bladder, he has like a capacity of 1.5 gallons, so I never have to get up when I'm watching a movie. And it's a good time.
So we all played Wario's Woods because it's on the Switch Online. And we played a couple other ones that were the actual focus.
I just want to get Wario Woods out of the way really quick. Because it's not a Wario game. It's a Wario game. It's not a Wario game. Yes, but no.
Time is a flat circle.
It's a puzzle game.
Yeah.
And I think we all like puzzle games. I think we established that to a degree, that we all like puzzle games, especially if it was Dr. Mario.
Yes.
But in this Wario game named Wario's Woods, where Wario is present in the game, you actually play as Toad. And
this is when Wario is still like a hard villain.
Yeah, well, they're really trying to pitch him as a villain. And you fight people inside of trees throughout a woods apparently Wario owns, and you stack lots of things of similar colors and then explode them with bombs that are also falling within the trees.
Yeah.
I kind of like it, but it gets really hard.
Yeah, it does.
Like, it quickly ramps up harder than Dr. Mario or Tetris or other puzzle games of its time.
I actually didn't like it that much. I mean, you mentioned those other puzzle games like Tetris, Dr. Mario, Columns.
Poyo.
There is one mechanic in those games. You move the block and rotate it. That is the only mechanic in those three games. Now, Tetris, you've just got to make lines. Dr. Mario, you've just got to clear the bugs on the screen. Columns, you've just got to match the colors. But there is a single mechanic. You move and rotate the block. This is why Wario's Woods doesn't work for me. Because it is so convoluted. The amount of things that you can do, it just overcomplicates things. I mean, there are 3 tutorials in the game.
Yeah.
To teach you all of the moves. And it is just when you're trying to play that kind of like frantic puzzle games where you're trying to line something up, having all of these mechanics kind of like interplaying with each other just make it really, really, really hard to play. And I was just panicking. Stuff was coming down. I was kind of like trying to remember which button to press to take one out of a column or move an entire column or stuff like that. And I just think it was too convoluted to be enjoyable.
Well, that's the thing, is it starts okay, and then once it starts picking up the pace and, you know, what it demands of you starts increasing, it becomes overkill.
Yeah.
And it just gets overwhelming really fast. It's kind of like playing Yoshi. Fine game. It's very simple mechanics where you spin the things around and basically you fill up eggs with bad guys who then you put the eggshells together and then it closes and then a Yoshi comes out. Because that's how eggs work and how Yoshis are born. But after a little bit, like, the game just becomes super, super stressful because you're trying to spin the platforms. You don't move anything, you just move stacks. You just move stacks left and right by swapping places. And it's simple at first, and I guess it's supposed to get harder, but it's one of those things where it ramps up in difficulty really, really fast. And Wario Woods does the same thing. It's like, oh, I can deal with these mechanics, until suddenly you just can't.
Yeah.
And it's not like Tetris or Dr. Mario where it gradually gets a little bit faster, and you get more and more used to the controls. It's like, even with Wario's Woods, like you said, there's so many mechanics going on all at once to move things around that just turns into a stress simulator.
Those other games I mentioned, they use one button. There's a rotate button, there's a D-pad left and right, and up and down. That is it. And I think that is what makes a really successful puzzle game. Let's say that you are coming into one of those games with never having seen it before. Say Tetris. Maybe Dr. Mario might need a bit more explanation, but say Tetris Columns. You're coming into those games without having seen anyone playing it, without knowing what it is. You will pick up the mechanics in less than a minute. It is that simple because it is immediately apparent. But Wario's Woods needs 3 tutorials, and I think that's why it's not fondly remembered, because the best puzzle games are deceptively simple. You have those simple mechanics, but it is the ramping up of the speed and stuff like that, or like the bug placement in Dr. Mario, that's where the challenge comes from. The challenge is in the game, not the mechanics. Whereas the challenge is in the mechanics in Wario's Woods for me.
And that's super fair. And honestly, that's a really solid point to just push towards something like Wario Land. And even more so in Wario Land 4, which was one of the focus games. It's simple. The games, the mechanics within, like, actually, like, movement and stuff are trimmed down for even Mario, because like Wario Land doesn't have a health bar. Wario doesn't get hurt. He gets knocked around, and that can be annoying. But the games, as far as platformers, especially, like I wholly recommend at some point you go and play the first Wario Land game. It's insanely straightforward.
He does have a health bar.
Yeah, there's the hearts.
Wait, maybe it was Wario Land 3 he didn't have a health bar. You literally couldn't get hurt. Like, you would get bumped around, but you wouldn't die. And it was one of those things where... Yeah, I'm thinking of Wario Land 3. Like, you wouldn't get hurt. You would get knocked around, and there was a couple situations where you could, like, get temporarily locked up because you're getting bopped around. But nothing bad would happen. Like, you would just get knocked around. And I think you could lose money. But there were no lives, there was no health. And it trimmed the game down. It allowed them to do other fun stuff with the game without adding stuff to worry about. Which kind of, I mean, early at the beginning we were talking about Dark Souls and how it's like the game is hard and you can make a game. If people whine about making a game, it's like if it's not, the game's not punishing, then it's not fun. It's too easy. But like Wario Land 3 is a blast. And it's not hard in a traditional sense. But we didn't play Wario Land 3, and now I kind of wish we had, because great game.
Yeah, we played 4, and
we played 4.
It gets very frustrating in places.
It does. Just because some of the mechanics and some, like, it's the puzzles. They started really getting heavy on the puzzles, and, like, trying to figure out where the hell you had to go.
Yeah, like, so you go through the little intro area and learn all the mechanics and everything, and then you have 4 options of paths to go down, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and Topaz. And I tried 3 of those and couldn't even get to the end of the first level, and then managed to burn through most of the 4th one once I finally tried it. It's like, oh, this is the one I was supposed to go to first.
In that way, Wario Land is actually maybe a little Metroidvania-y-ish.
Not so much. I mean, you can do them in any order that you want. It's just the difficulty just kind of ramps up a bit with the later paths. They still have like the exact same mechanics and such. Did any of you play the pinball level?
I actually wanted to say that the pinball level was one of my favorites, but also I liked Pinball Zone in Sonic 2. So...
I hated the pinball level. I thought that was horrible. I mean, I saw the title come up when I went into the level. I thought, great, yeah, I love pinball. I don't love it anymore. It can fuck off.
Oh no!
I mean, it's not pinball. The level, it's just you've just got these puzzles where you've got to get a ball in a hole, like 4 times, and then a door will open. And then you've got another one. Then you've got another one. And I ended up, well, for more than one level, I ended up looking up a guide on YouTube. Because they just get so mazy, a lot of these. And I actually played this a lot as a kid because I had it on Game Boy Advance back in the day. But I think I only really played a lot of the Emerald path. I don't think I messed around much with the other ones because a lot of these levels were kind of like new to me. I definitely never played the pinball one before. But I just got so frustrated with that. And the boss after it, I couldn't beat. That was just annoying as hell. I spent maybe a dozen attempts on that boss. I just couldn't do it. But the Emerald path is fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
one you had fun with.
Yeah, that's the one I was able to progress with.
It was Wario Land 4 is a bit of a different game compared to the previous ones, because Wario Land 2? Not 2. 1. I'm thinking of 1 right now. I have 1 and 2 on my 3DS, on the Virtual Console. But they're very... I don't know, they have a more Super Mario Land 2 vibe to them, just in kind of everything, really. Including how Wario looks. He hadn't really established his style yet. But, especially since they weren't in color, you know. But they're a little bit more straightforward, and the puzzles come from trying to figure out how to find the bonus treasures, which I guess is kind of like how 4 and Wario World, which would be a successor, to the whole series is very much, it's not about just finishing the level, it's about finding the secret treasure in each level. And also just accumulating as much cash as possible, because Wario's a greedy bastard. That is his MO.
Right.
Well, the cache actually has a gameplay mechanic as well, because if you are exiting the level, basically, in order to exit the level, you jump on this, like, pogo, I don't know what it is. It looks like a frog standing on something, but you jump on it, and a timer starts going down, and you've got to make your way to the exit fast, and it opens up like a lot of new areas and blocks some old ones off and stuff like that. But if the timer reaches 0 before you get back to the portal, it doesn't end the level, but your money starts going down. So if you've got a lot of money during the level, then it does give you kind of like quite a sizable buffer to actually get out of the level.
Yeah, in I want to say in the older Wario titles, it's less. Money is not particularly important. It all goes towards your final score in the end of the game, like how you're going to like, because the whole thing is like, oh, I'm going to get I get a big castle or whatever it is. Basically, your treasure. It goes towards your treasure hoard, but it's not nearly as important as, say, just getting the special treasures, getting the secret treasures. And with that, it's the money also unlocks, like, allows you to play some mini games and stuff. Like, if you have cash, you can play like these little mini games to boost your treasure, or like unlock keys to find other treasures. Like, they have the mechanics. It's not the most important part, but except for the part where it can be, but it isn't. Yes, but no. And similarly in this, it's like, it's not, the money isn't super important, but the more you have it, the better. Like, it's going to make your life easier.
I mean, I think I only had the timer run down to 0 once.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, even though a lot of the levels are mazes, once you've kind of like hit that, there is generally a straight path to get back to the start.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like the point is, like you said, like how it opens up new paths. I guarantee there's a bunch of secret stuff to 100% the game. That's just how I've never beaten it.
And the diamond pieces to progress.
Some of those are in there.
Yeah, so sometimes they don't show up until you've hit the plunger, and then you have to find them on your way back.
You have to run back for it.
Yeah.
But one of the good things is that as long as you actually exit the level, anything that you collected will stay collected. So if you got the key and exited, if you got any of the diamond pieces, you won't have to recollect them if you go back into the level. But you just can't unlock the next level until you've got all of them. So you just have to go back, and you've just got to try and find like the ones you've missed, but you don't have to recollect the previous ones.
Which is good game design, unlike some other game that I have complained about. It's Banjo-Kazooie, and how you had to get all of the you had to get everything one run on the original. Actually,
I found that so in the Rare Replay version, or now I'm assuming on the 360 version, it keeps things collected. Yep. I found that to be a problem because, when you're missing one set of music notes and you can't find them, it's like, in the original version you could just bounce out and then start over and follow the strategy guide to find them all. You can't do that with the remake.
I still felt it was an improvement.
I mean, it is. It's just like those specific cases, it tends to cause problems.
I already know that Wario 2 isn't super fond of like classic platformers.
Yo. Like, I went in expecting to absolutely hate this game because I hate 2D platformers. And I did not hate it as much as I expected to. Like, because it's not as bad on the platforming. There's much more puzzle to this than platforming. And I can get behind that.
Right. And again, it's not like lots of like critical jumps either.
Right, and it's, the levels are short enough that, you don't have to memorize the level to get through, but you kind of do learn the route.
Yeah, well, and again, that's kind of where you have kind of, as you're running around trying to figure the puzzles out, you almost get like that Metroidvania look because you're backtracking so much, running back and forth to clear the door.
Yeah.
And then like you said, you hit the timer and then you have to run back to the beginning.
Yeah.
But by this time, you familiarized yourself with the area, and I think that's just great.
One mechanic that I found interesting was a lot of enemies will do something to Wario, so you can like reach certain areas. One of them will make you like super heavy, so you can break blocks. Another one will turn you into an accordion, so you can jump really high.
You can one of them will like you'll get bitten, turned into a vampire, and you can be like zombified. A lot of goofy stuff because Wario's a goofy guy.
Is that where Vampire Wario came from?
I believe so.
Oh, wait, hang on.
No, actually...
No, it can't.
No, it can't be, because Dr. Mario 64 came out before this.
Yeah.
So then, actually, no, that's... Vampire Wario would have come from that, and actually been given some purpose, or at least some backstory, maybe.
Right.
Or maybe not, because apparently Wario is actually immune. He can just borrow powers. I have no idea.
Mm.
But yeah, the non-traditional power-up system was kind of nice.
And there are some interesting puzzles that make use of a lot of those as well. Like you can go into these special pipes that have like this diamond in it that you can collect, which gives you like, I think 5,000 points. And a lot of them do require you to use some of those power-ups in quite innovative ways sometimes to reach a treasure.
Again, just genuinely clever game design. It is a cleverly designed game. I want to say that it was received super well back in 2001 or whenever it was released because of stuff like this. Because I mean, it was a major, pretty major advance release.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to say Wario Land 3 was the Game Boy Color. It has an 88% on Metacritic. You got a 4 out of 5 by most. But who knows? Was that because it was just a Nintendo game and the Game Boy Advance was gangbusters? Or was it just people were still high on the Wario craze? I like to think it was both.
Well, I don't actually remember why I bought it. I just knew that it was one of the games that I had. And I don't think I'd ever really heard of Wario before.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo wasn't huge, like, in Europe over here, so...
Fair enough.
We hadn't had a lot of stuff with Wario in it. So I'm not entirely sure. But it actually came out later than I thought it did. Because I would have been in my late teens at that point. I remembered in my head me playing it in my early teens, but it must have been a lot later.
I'm a little surprised, but at the same time, like, we've talked about the whole Nintendo Sega, and like Nintendo exploded in Japan and the US, but not so much in Europe.
Yeah.
Until much more recently, when apparently Japan or Nintendo got super buddy-buddy with Europe and gave them all of the cool special editions.
And exclusive games at
exclusive, yeah, at certain points, just like, here, we're sorry for not basically being more popular, please like us.
And then refusing to give us those games until we whined about it enough.
Right. Oh, I want to mention one last thing about Wario Land 4, real quick. What the fuck is wrong with the bosses? Like, you know what I got from this? When they're just, what the fuck, with, like, these weird-ass bosses? I got a, oh, shit. What was the name of the game? We played it on the...
You got a really weird Wiz and Liz vibe.
Yes, Wiz and Liz. There you go. I knew it was Wiz and something.
So did I. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad that it wasn't just me. Because it's like, oh yeah, the games are goofy and there's weird stuff going on in level design, and then the bosses show up and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, you get these really just honestly disturbing bosses from what is normally a pretty lighthearted level.
Yeah, I only fought 2 of the bosses because I couldn't get that far on the other couple of levels, but the flower wasn't too bad. that was fairly easy. That's the one at the end of the Emerald.
Mm-hmm.
The one at the end of I think it's Sapphire, the Cuckoo one. That broke me. That made me give up the game. The first part of it I could do absolutely fine. Basically, it's a big cuckoo clock, and you just rush towards the pendulum, and it hits up and swings around and hits the thing, and it breaks off. But then there's like a cuckoo inside of it, and he keeps dropping eggs. And the eggs hatch into chickens, which explode after a few seconds. What you're meant to do is grab the egg as it's falling out and then lob it upwards to hit the cuckoo. And your timing has got to be like really on point. If you miss one, you can't just wait for the next one. You've got to deal with the chicken that's now running about trying to explode you. And the eggs come out pretty fast, so you just end up getting overwhelmed by these chickens, and you can't get back to a place where you can just stand behind the boss and catch the eggs. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, it's really, and this is like a staple. Well, I mean, not even so. I won't say it's a staple. Like, this might be, I don't remember the bosses in Wario Land 3 being super, super fucking weird. I know in Wario Land and the early ones, it's like, yeah, that one of them you fight like a genie. It's like, okay, that's the big boss of the game, is you fight a genie. And it's like, it's not as big, but it's like, this happened, and then in Wario World 2, the bosses are just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, in one of the bosses in Wario World, is a dinosaur in a wig and lingerie.
Jesus.
It's a fine boss. It's whatever. It's pretty straightforward how you fight it. But, like, what the fuck? One of them is you have to fight a ballerina ox who will spin around and beat the shit out of you. But also he does, like, ballerina dance in between, and he prances around.
Yeah.
There's a terrifying clown you fight who throws his heads around, like he sprouts a head and throws it and it'll run around and explode. One of them looks like a Simpsons character. Like, something happened over at Nintendo to the team who was working on the Wario games. And I don't know if this is like the trauma coming out or if there were just a lot of drugs. But it became a thing for a minute.
Yeah, well, like the standard enemies as well, I can't even tell what they are meant to be.
Yeah, but they're not horrifying.
No.
They're just things. It's a thing. Like in the original Wario Land, though, like one of them's just a blob that walks around and he has a spear. Okay, whatever. Who knows what it is? Yeah, but then you get these horror. Like one of the bosses in Wario Land 4 is like this weird rabbit rat thing, and it's just uncomfortable to look at. Like, I think they were trying to make it look kind of funny. It's not funny. It's just nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Oh shit. That's what it reminded me of. It kind of reminded me of the Broodals from Super Mario Odyssey, except worse. It's like that is Wario Land's nightmare from Fusion. All the bosses are like, what the hell, it's a big thing, and it's a monster, and then you get to Nightmare, and it's... I don't even know what it is. I'm not going to ramble about the Scary Rabbit anymore. I rambled enough when I played Mario Odyssey, and they showed the Broodals. What's interesting is what we got. Wario Land 1, 2, 3, 4 World, and there was another one. Shake. Wario Land Shake for the Wii. And that was the last traditional Wario game we've seen. Well, traditional, I guess. It's the last adventure game with Wario that we've seen.
Oh.
And right around the time Wario World came out, Nintendo went and pooped out the WarioWare series. And the first time I played that was actually, we borrowed a Nintendo Link. We were talking about the Game Boy Advance Link. Someone we knew had one. We linked up, and we specifically borrowed an Advance and the link cable for Metroid Zero Mission, Metroid Fusion, and Metroid Prime, and all that connectivity. Like, we had a Game Boy Advance Link, and we had a Game Boy Link cable. And we did that to unlock all of the bonus stuff in those games. And since we still had it, you were able to plug in a Game Boy Advance into Wario as you beat the worlds in Wario World, and you could play a couple mini games from WarioWare Mega Games because it wasn't out yet. They had they teased it in Wario World, and that was the first time I ever saw it, and I was super intrigued as I was 14 or something like that. But yeah, WarioWare, going back to simple games and keeping it simple. I think, Matt, you said in the chat that you got basically the best experience because you had a friend come over.
Yeah. Basically, we did the entire 2-player experience, like all of the different 2-player modes, like from start to finish. We did the whole lot, and we had a lot of fun. Some of the modes are a bit like shit. Like there's a mode where the screen tells you to do something and you've got to check to make sure the other person's doing it. Like you've got to hold your mouth open really wide or something while you're doing the game, and then the other player's got to confirm that you've done it. That was a bit dumb, but as kind of like a little party game kind of thing, it works really well. I think my favorite mode is one where one person is playing the mini games and the other person, their character is on the screen, and you can move around and just block parts of the screen. And I was playing as Wario, so he's really fat. So I could just block probably about a fifth of the screen as my friend was trying to play the mini games. That was really fun, just trying to kind of troll the other player as much as possible.
Sabotage.
Yeah.
I've never played WarioWare with more than just me.
Oh, I have. My experience with WarioWare was actually that I don't think I played the GameCube WarioWare. The first thing I played was WarioWare for the Wii, Smooth Moves. And it was just, one of my friends had it, and that became one of our go-to party games was WarioWare, because you would have to position the Wii remote in different ways and then do the action in the mini game. And it was really good. It was a really good game. We all enjoyed it. I mean, honestly, we were playing that well into the Wii U's life cycle. It wasn't until more recently that we stopped playing it. That was a one of our go-tos. So I had a lot of experience with WarioWare as a concept, and then we went back and tracked down the GameCube version years and years ago, and it just wasn't the same. Plus, I was trying to play it by myself. So going back to it for this one, I just played through a bunch of the single player. I kind of knew what I was doing more for it. I mean, it went fine. I enjoyed it. It's now that I'm seeing the actual connected quote unquote story, it's kind of cool.
Right. Yeah, because there's actually WarioWare spawned kind of an odd amount of Wario lore, I guess. Not lore, but there's lots of characters, and they all have something going on. And that just makes and it's fun because it's so fucking weird, but it's not weird because it's a Wario game.
Yeah.
You just take it at face value solely because it's Wario. If you dropped in all of these characters into a Mario game, you'd be like, what the hell is going on? But you're like, oh, it's fine, it's Wario. Yeah, okay, so she's a witch, that's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing... I would be mad if it was anything else.
Well, I think the series kind of prides itself on being just all-out wacky. I mean, the mini games. I mean, we've not really described the core of the game, but basically you have 3-second mini games.
It's not mini games; it's micro games.
Yeah, micro games. They're smaller than mini games.
And it'll just give you an instruction, and you've got 3 seconds to work out what you need to do and how to do it.
Pick the nose. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's so much variety in it as well. But
they're all simple. They're all super simple games.
Oh yeah.
That's the important part. You go in, but you talk about how Wario Woods failed because it wasn't particularly simple. WarioWare did so well because even though it was frantic, every single game is super simple to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all they're all kind of like one button games and stuff like that. They're really simple. You can still fuck them up because I tried to play the single player and I couldn't even get past the first mode. It's like an elevator thing, and you've got to keep going up and doing games, and then it gets faster and faster. And I couldn't get past it before dying. I tried like about 5 times.
Uh-huh.
But the game also has a mode where you can like pick mini games, so you can actually practice like whichever ones you want. If you if there's particular ones that you kind of like really suck at, you can go in and like practice that particular one, and you can set records for it as well. It saves records.
Records. I want to take a look at the speedrunning community for Mega Micro Games. Someone's going to speedrun that. People will speedrun anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the little mini games or the little micro games are just goofy as hell.
Yeah.
Like I said, pick the nose. His hand zooms across, you gotta pick. Sometimes it's 1 finger, sometimes it's 2 fingers. You gotta pick both nostrils.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, you move, even moving on, they did micro games, or they did the mini games. The micro games lived on with Brawl when they introduced the WarioWare stage. And I think that's been in every Smash since.
It has.
And they'll do a thing. Jump, don't get wet. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
I am shocked that we haven't gotten a WarioWare on the Switch yet.
Yeah, I am surprised. Although, so I think one of my favorite WarioWare experiences outside of, the fond memories of smooth moves is in Mario Maker. My friend and I actually found someone who made WarioWare in Mario Maker.
Oh, I saw something like that.
I actually have the video of our gameplay for that, so I'll send you guys the link for that video
and post it up on the Facebook.
Yeah, I could also do that. Give our long defunct YouTube channel some extra views. Because it was so crazy. Like, we just randomly found this channel and they made Wario, like, basically they set up so that there was a bomb on a timer and it would hit and take out the floor or blow up the stage or whatever, and you would die if you didn't figure out the puzzle in time. It was just really cool. So you can technically get WarioWare on the Switch.
You can technically get it on the Switch. And I really, really like that Nintendo made a game so people could make the games that Nintendo doesn't want to make anymore. At one point, it's kind of like a slap in the face, like, oh, well, you don't like the fact that we're not going to play the games that we're not going to make the games you want? Well, then make them yourself. But at the same time, it's like, well, fuck, Nintendo's not going to make it. I'll just make it myself.
It is strange that they haven't released one, though. It seems like the perfect console to do it on with Joy-Cons, and the same thing with light gun games. It's like, why the hell haven't Switch brought light gun games back? You've got the perfect peripheral for
it. You do. There's no reason not to. And it's not it's not the whole thing it's like, well, you got the motion controls. And it's like, well, when you do it right, motion controls can be pretty fun. Like, Super Mario Party has a couple motion control games. More than a couple. But it's mostly just, they're super simple inputs that are basically stupid-proof, including a game where you have to flip a jar upside down and shake the candy out of it so you get to jack off for 30 seconds. But the WarioWare games, because Smooth Moves had motion controls, and obviously WarioWare Touch had touch controls on the DS, because that was the gimmick. So you couldn't really do that unless you had an undocked game mode exclusive, which I don't know how I feel about that. There's no reason not to, but at the same time, it's like, oh, but now you're just hiding You're just hiding mini games from us.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's a couple game modes in Super Mario Party that it's like, oh, you can only play this when it's undocked. Like, and the more switches you have in play, the bigger your screen gets and some other crazy shit.
Right.
So it's like, it felt like that was unnecessary because now, like, people have to go out of their way to play these other games when you could have just put it on the TV.
Yeah.
But
have we talked about the motion control thing on the podcast?
Like how, generally speaking, it's a bad idea, except for when it works super well and then everybody loves it.
Because, like, for example, I use gyro when I play Destiny on PC.
Yeah, you said that. You said that because you can plug in your you can just look up your Switch Pro. Yeah, and it supports the gyro.
Yeah, the gyro aiming, the Wii aiming for Metroid Prime was incredible. Like, I think it's just, honestly, I think as much as Wii Sports did for Nintendo and the Wii itself, it did a lot of damage to the image.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. You're right. You're 100% right. But, like, back in the day, the PS3 had, what did they call it, their 6-axis controller?
Oh, yeah, 6-axis.
The 6-axis. And it was bad. The 6-axis sucked. But I think that was a limitation of technology at the time. It just, they weren't using good technology.
Yeah, the tech wasn't there yet.
The tech wasn't there yet. So now you have the same exact thing in the Pro controller, and it's not that I think the tech is bad. It's buttery smooth. But, like, in Splatoon 2 and Breath of the Wild and basically any game that lets me move the camera around with the controller, I turn that shit off.
And see, I don't. I love the gyro control.
I move my hand, I move around too much to use that. And you would think that would be great, because obviously the rule of controllers is if you're turning and you turn the controller with it, you turn harder.
Right.
That's how it works. But even if that's, like, you can set that up in Mario Kart, where you tilt the controller to turn. I've always hated motion steering in Mario Kart.
Mm.
And I had to go through and muscle through Mario Kart 7 with the motion steering on to get my golden steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. But it wasn't fun. Partly because the screen was turning with you, so that just made it more awkward.
Yeah, gyro on the 3DS is not as good as gyro on a console, just because, like you said, you're moving the screen. But I know I've always found the gyro controls to work great. I think it's more precise than a stick.
It is. No, it technically is. That's why I like the motion controls in the Metroid Prime trilogy so much.
Mm-hmm.
They feel really, really good.
Well, and in that one, you're even more precise than gyro. Like, the point and aim is the most precise you can get.
It really is. Like, you grow comfortable with it, and then suddenly, like, you're on like a mouse level precision.
If I could rig up a Wii remote to my PC for mouse and keyboard shooters, I would.
I bet you can. I bet there's a way. But yeah, so I have, like, a really mixed relationship with motion controls. Like, I really hate gyro control on my games. I turn it off at every moment I can get. But, like, when it comes to certain gyro controls, like for mini games, they can be a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, and I mean, WarioWare Smooth Moves was a great example of that. Like, the franticness of, I got to get in this mission, or I gotta put it down on the ground or whatever. Like, that added to the experience, and it was a fun, goofy game to play with friends, and it worked because of the motion controls.
When I was playing the GameCube version, my friend did say, like, the Wii version is really good.
Mm-hmm. Wonder how much a Wii version costs, because I've never played Smooth Moves.
Outrageous amounts, most likely. Well, actually, no.
Game.
You could also just get it on the Virtual Console.
Oh, is it available on the Virtual Console for the Wii U?
Yeah, it's well, okay. I don't think it's technically a virtual console. I think it's just a Wii game you can buy, but you can buy it on the Wii.
Well, yeah.
Let me see.
Oh, this doesn't appear to be too expensive. Player's Choice has it for $20.
Okay.
That's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Good God, WarioWare Gold is $34, which should have been I think that was the last installment. I hope that wasn't like intentionally the last installment.
Oh wow! In the UK, it is going for about between £5 and £10
That's
Oh,
not
nice.
bad at all.
for the
That's not
Wii
bad at all.
version.
And there's on eBay I can pick it up for $10. So
Yeah, so forget the Game Boy Advance / GameCube version that we played. Pick up the Wii version.
yeah, it's super frustrating too because again, like you said, the Wii got this really bad rap. Maybe partly because of Wii Sports, maybe just because of how they marketed it, and it got a lot of shit titles on it, and a lot of half-baked motion controls in a lot of those games.
Shovelware.
Yeah, but like then you get certain games, and a lot of them were first party that utilized the motion controls, and it was just the best thing.
Yeah, like okay, so I give Skyward Sword a lot of shit for the motion controls because they were because it was the launch of Wii Motion Plus. They were forcing motion control into places it didn't need to be, but some of it was fine. Like,
well, and like so in Skyward Sword, it does the thing where you swing the sword, and wherever your Wiimote is pointing, it's kind of where he swings the sword to,
Yes.
He holds the sword in that position. So you could theoretically pull different stances you want. Not that it would help you, but whatever you're comfortable with to get the most mileage out of your sword swinging. Make sure you put on the Wii strap, otherwise you'll throw that sword through the TV.
yes.
Also, I need the Wii safety man to be the next fighter in Smash. and his final smash is he takes the safety strap off and just starts flailing. But like then you have Twilight Princess, my favorite game, my favorite Zelda game, and there's quote unquote motion controls, and boy are they janky for some of your like special moves.
I mean, it's also a launch title for the Wii, so
yeah, it's a launch title for the Wii. But the problem with it, as far as motion controls, is you're not swinging the sword. You don't swing the Wiimote to swing the sword. You swing the Wiimote to hit an invisible button to swing the sword.
Right.
Which just kind of made it awkward. On the other hand, the fishing minigame in Twilight Princess was choice on the Wii. That was great. It's just, again, one of those, sometimes motion controls are bad, other times they're really good. Twilight Princess on the Wii, not so great. Mostly it just made it awkward and a slight workout.
Yeah, basically.
I never had a Wii when it was current, so I never really got to play with it at the time. I've played like a handful of Wii games since then, and especially stuff like shooters, it makes my arm ache. Like holding it up. Like I say, it does work sometimes. I found the ones that they used in Super Mario Odyssey to be fine. The moves you can do to make them spin and stuff like that. So it does have its uses, and I can definitely see how it would elevate WarioWare. But it's not something that I've ever really been massively into. But like I said, you could do a lot more with it than what Nintendo are actually doing with it.
Yeah.
I have heard that the Wii version of Resident Evil 4 is actually the best version to play. So I should try that out sometime with the motion controls and see how it plays.
I can't see how it would be better.
Everyone says it's really. I mean, the original Resident Evil 4, the controls are jank. The remaster.
I shit all over it when we covered it. I was not happy.
Yeah, the remaster on PS4 and Xbox does kind of like fix it a bit to make it playable, but the original ones aren't that great. And I have heard that the Wii version fixes a lot of the issues.
Well, thank God somebody did.
And I do have it. It's just a case of setting everything up because, God, it's a pain in the arse to set up the Wii.
Oh, you have your Wii U setup, don't you?
I'll have the Wii U set up, but I don't have like the motion sensor thing set up at the minute. I mean, it's all like in a box. I can do it.
Yeah. I mean, if you got the Wii U setup, all you have to do is plug in your motion sensor. Or you can go and get one of those wireless ones. They work fine. Then all you do is just slap batteries in it and slap it up on your counter.
Then you've got to do all the syncing and...
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass. But the Wii U is set up at the minute, so before I unplug all of that, I might give that a go. But yeah,
you should tell us how it is, since you're the Resident Evil fan. You're the Resident Evil fan. That made me happy.
I should play it, considering I have like every version of Resident Evil 4.
You do. You shared that picture. You have. Yeah. Honestly, you have too much Resident Evil. I would recommend help for you, but we don't judge. I have way too many Zelda games.
Yeah, I mean, like neither one of us is in a position to judge.
Yeah. Anyway, getting off topic.
WarioWare. Skip the GameCube version. Play it on Wii.
Play the Wii. And honestly, there's a lot of Wario games that are worth playing. It's a fun. Like I almost feel like Wario is best established in like the spin-off games. That's I think where most people have seen him. Like he's been in every Mario Kart since 64.
He's been in Smash since Brawl.
He's been in Smash since Brawl. He's been in basically almost every single sports title, I think. I don't think he's really missed one except for like maybe golf. No, I think he was in golf as well.
Yeah.
Like not the old golf, but like golf on the 64.
The GameCube, Toadstool Tour.
Yeah, like he's been in most of the spin-off games with his... I have mixed feelings about Waluigi. There's a cult following on Waluigi. And obviously we made the joke, but I don't understand it. I don't hate the character. He's fine. I just don't understand the character. Because he only appears in spin-off titles.
Yeah.
Waluigi does not have his own game, and he does not appear in a mainline game.
So some of the massive fan base is earnest. Like, it is actually people that enjoy his aesthetic and everything. Some of it is people trolling.
Well, and I get the trolling part, but that's just like I wouldn't be mad. I would not be mad if Waluigi got his own game. And if it was extremely kooky and not what anybody expected, even better, because he's already... Like, that's already what he is anyway.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't understand why the character exists in the first place, other than, I guess, Wario needed an accomplice.
Do you want to know the actual reason Waluigi exists?
I mean, if you have it, let it fly.
Waluigi exists because Wario needed a doubles partner.
Was that it? Was it just because of Mario Tennis?
It's literally Mario Tennis. He was created for Mario Tennis because Wario needed a doubles partner.
See, I was always under the impression that Waluigi first appeared in a Mario Party game.
No, it was Mario Tennis, because Mario Tennis and Mario Party 3 came out like right around the same time.
Okay, I mean, that explains it. That's all it takes.
Like, that is the actual reason, is just because Wario needed a partner.
Well, that's,
I think that's us done.
I think there's not much more to say. Oh, I wanted to throw one little tidbit, because you said it earlier. So, in Mario Party, this is a WarioWare factoid of the day. Not WarioWare, but a Wario factoid of the day. It's a freebie. So, you said earlier in the Mario Party, and it's also pulled from the Japanese audio of Mario Kart. So, you said, "Do I missed?"
Yeah.
He does not say, "Oh, I missed." That's just what it sounds like. He's actually speaking German because apparently they imagined Wario to be German and not Italian.
Wow.
And I do not remember the exact phrase, but it roughly translates into, "That's a load of crap."
Well, okay, so that makes a lot more sense.
Or specifically, I think like the hard translation is "what a crap."
Because like the I missed never made sense to me as a kid.
Yeah, because it doesn't, but you think that's what he says.
Because that's the only thing it could be in English.
But yeah, it's not English, it's German. Because they thought Wario should have been German, so they got like some voice actor. They pulled some voice actor who was around, and they had him record the lines, and they liked it. And they liked the voice. Yeah, there's your factoid for the day. Wario is apparently German, and he swears in Mario Party. Well, I mean, loosely swears. It's not anything major. And that, I think, ties up the Wario episode. I don't think there's a whole lot more to say. Wario's a fantastic character. He needs more games. Maybe next time, join us again, and we'll talk about Waluigi next time. We won't, but maybe in the future. And until then, until the next time, and we talk about Waluigi one day, goodbye.
Goodbye.
I was thinking about collecting all the Kirby games. There's quite a few of those.
Quite a lot of them are shit.